Hello, my favorite board game content creators, and welcome back to the Wolfpack. Now, today's video was inspired actually from a Twitter post that I saw the other day from James Hudson. Basically, the thread was talking about how every content creator should have a media sheet, a one sheet, which is pretty much a resume for content creators. And it's really good to have, but at the same time, it's something that we, or me at least, it's something that I rarely send out to publishers. Maybe this is something that you can think about during the weekend, something that you can chip away at, but I just wanted to give you my thoughts on it. Now, what I'm about to show you isn't the only way to do things. It's not the right way to do things. It's just how I do them. And I just wanted to share that with you. So hopefully it gives you some thoughts to consider while making your own. So if you're ready to learn with me, if you're ready to chip away at this one media sheet, if you haven't made one yet, then let's go ahead and leave a hashtag in the comments below. Let's do weekend goals. How about that? Okay, first off, what is a one sheet? A one sheet is a simplified list of your services. The goal here is to ultimately work with a publisher. And I'm kind of pushing this towards like the paid client side. I don't see why you would use one if you want a review copy as a content creator. I just feel like all the work and the effort that you put in should be going towards paying clients versus a $35, $50, $75 game. So I wouldn't really send this out if you're looking for a review copy. I would rather send it out if you're looking to book clients. Keep that in mind. When you make these one sheets, you're ultimately trying to sell yourself and sell your services. I know it sounds kind of icky, but it's what we got to do in order to survive and live in this content creator world. Remember that you want to showcase your brand to ultimately work with a paying client. Let's always push towards the paying client side because it's a lot of work to be doing what we're doing. And on top of that, you always want to keep in mind everything that I mentioned in all these past videos, the entire playlist that I accumulated here. But always keep in mind the text that you use, the fonts, the colors, everything, because you want to keep everything recognizable to your brand. With that said, what I use actually to make my one sheet is Canva. Now, I didn't use a specific template that you can find on Canva. I kind of just played around with a bunch of elements. I also am not a graphic designer, so bear with me here. But here is my one sheet. Okay, here are 3 goals to keep in mind when making your one sheet. First question that you want to ask yourself is, what am I selling? Ultimately, you always want to make it about your clients, not about us. It's never about us. It's about them and how they can visualize their products in our services. Remember, if you want to book clients, make it about them. So that's why I included this first headliner E type image, the dragons, and you can see all the texture and fine details in that one photo. I want them to recognize all the level of detail that goes into those photos, which is why I included that huge one at the very top to captivate and capture their attention. So the first photo is an attention getter. That's the purpose that that one serves. And then we move on to the second photo, and this one is all about lifestyle images. So here we have a diverse range of models that I always shoot with. So these are intended to sell the lifestyle photo sets. You want publishers, or at least for me, I want publishers to visualize all their products in images so they can visually kind of substitute out that game for their own games. And I also used a card game, which was Arkham Horror in this case, because cards are going to be the most prominent type of component that you see in games versus like miniatures or something. And then the last photo actually shared with me by the op. Super cool. I wanted to share this news eventually in like a vlog and some Instagram updates too. But my photo was also featured in Disney's D23 newsletter. So that was super exciting. I wanted to showcase that as well in a recent work, little blurb right there on the left side. And then what was really important for me was to include a mission statement. And since the goal of my overall sheet is to include more photos and be very, very specific with the text and have very limited text in general, then the mission statement is going to be one huge bolded thing right in the center. Like, this is what my brand is all about. Next point I wanted to mention, you always want to be clear with the publishers that you've worked with versus ones that you've collaborated with, like with a review or anything. If you are trying to book a client for a publisher, I would imagine that it's probably better to include these are your past clients. So be specific with your wording. Or, if you're starting out, you don't have clients yet, not a problem at all, then go ahead and include like collaborators and stuff. So just be specific with the type of wording that you use. If you've had clients before, then put clients. If you've had collaborators and you're working towards like getting clients, then definitely include collaborators. Side note, you also want to gain the permission from the publisher if you're trying to use their logo wherever. So I always just include text just to be safe. Let's see what else here. Oh, this is a big one. Okay, so services. You want to make sure that you keep it as simple as possible. I'm like the worst with this because I've talked about this plenty of times in the past, but I always have like this whole huge set of things that I offer, but I always try to simplify it down, especially nowadays. For me now, you can see that I have 4 things listed on the bottom. It's either photo or video. It's either lifestyle photo with models, without models, or cinematics. That's pretty much it. So I try to keep it as simple as possible on the very bottom. And in one sheet, I don't even describe what that service is. I actually just provide a link so they can see exactly what it looks like. They're all linked to like different videos on my YouTube channel, or just like clips and highlights that I've kept unlisted on my channel, so they can see specifically what the commercial looks like, what the cinematic looks like. All these lifestyle photos are linked in a beautiful gallery. So all that are just linked to direct examples versus text description. And I'm also trying to be very conscious of all the other types of content creators on the platform. So for instance, if you stream on Twitch, I think you can just put like one sentence like saying, play through 2 hours on Twitch and done. I don't think you need to include like 10 bullets of what that entails and includes, because then they can just ask you directly in the email. Instead, what I would do if I was a streamer, I would just keep one line or one photo of like one really good playthrough, and then link that to a highlight clip of like your best parts, like in 30 seconds or less, of what your stream looks like. All right, now everything that we talked about was answering the question, what services are you selling on your media sheet? So all those little details that I talked about in the photos and your mission statement, all of that is leading towards the story, which is, this is what I'm selling. The second one is, how can you back up your work? Now, I kind of talked about this when you are linking directly to examples of your work, but make sure you include that. Like hyperlinks are much easier than a full-on description of what you're doing. Publishers list them on there, but honestly, I would rather list the people that you've had as clients if you had them again. List the people that you have as clients versus like 20 collaborators. I'd rather have 4 people that you've had as clients versus 10 people that you've collaborated with, in whatever that entails, because it's a little bit arbitrary what collaborate means. So think about that. Again, not the right way to do things, just the way that I'm considering as I'm making my own sheet. Okay, and stats. So I have always avoided putting stats in all of my content sheets, even from the very beginning. Reason why is because my brand specifically is not about the numbers, even in life too, aside from content creating. I've always hated numbers. But I don't list subscriber count, views, etc., because those aren't the clients that I personally am trying to attract. If that's what you're going for, that's totally fine. Then list them on there. But for me, that's the reason why I omit those things, because I just don't want to attract clients that are booking my services for that specific reason. So on your media sheet, list the type of clients that you're trying to attract. If you are a lighthearted family channel doing playthroughs with like 4 or 5 people, then match that aura in your one sheet. If you have a huge following on a specific social platform and that's what you want to highlight, then do that. By all means, do that. But just know that these are the clients that you are going to attract. And if you're okay with that, perfect, do that. Another point that I was thinking about that came up in our Discord channel too, I was thinking about it, and I feel like publishers are going to us smaller creators for a different reason from other bigger channels. If they wanted numbers specifically, then I feel like that's why they're going to bigger board game channels. But if they're going to us, they're looking for something different. Either it could be prices, it could be a different type of engagement, it could be who knows what. But whatever it is, those bigger channels aren't offering what we are offering. So make sure you capitalize on that and think about what your brand is offering that is unique to numbers specifically. Publishers can go to channels with hundreds and thousands of subscribers. Why are they going to us? So definitely think about that question when you're making your one sheet. Okay, final goal I wanted to mention is convenience. Make sure that your one sheet is serving its original purpose. There's a reason why it's only one sheet. I used to have like a 3 to 4 page one. It wasn't very text heavy either. It was just huge pictures that I had in a whole package list. But I really wanted to make one sheet because, again, I'm always trying to simplify my services. Reason why is because the more obstacles that you put in place before a client is booking you, then the less of a chance that they are going to actually book you. You want to make it as convenient, as easily accessible as possible. The more barriers that you put in front of it, like text-heavy content or mismatched alignment in your fonts and branding, or prices all over the place, or things that just don't make sense and their questions aren't fully answered in that one sheet, then the less likely they are to work with you, because everyone's time is so limited and they could go to anybody else. Why are they going to you? That's why direct hyperlinks are helpful. That's why when you look at the one sheet, you want it to be easy in the eyes and have it very visual heavy versus content heavy like with text. A couple other points to mention to hopefully help you all out. I don't put a contact info at all on these one sheets because I feel like this is already coming in an email exchange. These aren't like things that you print out and like post at your local gaming shop, unless that's what you do, and then that's totally fine too. But I just don't put contact info because I feel like it's redundant. The only thing that I do put is a link to my website in case they want to see like a full portfolio, but I don't include like my socials or anything because I mean, they're already emailing you and that's why you're sending this out, right? I also put pricing at the very bottom. The logic that I had behind this was, just imagine you're going to the grocery store and you're going there to buy milk. There's a reason why it's always at the very end of your shopping experience, right? Because they want you to pass through all the other aisles to get to what you want. That way you come back with more. So I feel like a similar mentality is in place when you're making this one sheet. The top is going to be like your attention getter, at least for me it is. And then the middle is going to be like the meat and potatoes of everything, like what you offer and why you're offering it this way and examples of everything. And at the very bottom, this is going to be how much you're worth. So that's the mentality that I had going into my media sheet. Okay, we talked about what a one sheet is. We talked about some goals and some questions to consider as you're making them. But the final thing I wanted to mention for today is why even bother sending them out? Because I rarely use them at all. And the reason why is because when you send these out with your prices listed on it, you are now locked in. I've actually had a few potential clients in the past reach out to me, I think 8 months later after I sent out a media sheet and saying, hey, we want to book now. And the problem with that is, so let's say this actually happened. So 8 months, okay? In 8 months, I've upgraded over $8,000 worth of gear. I've also spent every day, not even joking you, because again, this is something that I truly love and am very passionate about. I spent every single day curating and training and learning more about my craft. So the person that I was 8 months ago is not reflective of the creator that I am today, 8 months later, with all that in mind. So my prices change and they're going to reflect what I think I'm worth today, and it's very different from 8 months ago. That's a long time. So that's a problem that I have when you're sending out these one sheets, is that sometimes they think that you're locked into these prices and they can ask if you can honor them. You know, it's obviously up to you if you want to do that. I have honored them in the past anyway, just because I prefer keeping good relationships versus like just making a quick buck. So other than that, for the most part, I always use quotes, because quotes, that's why every time you're booking like a freelancer, quotes are valid up to like 1 to 2 weeks, whatever you want to put in your process for it. For me, I always put like a 1 week deadline in quotes. And on top of that, when you send out a quote, you're able to customize packages for that client. One thing that I always keep in mind, I learned this from other photographers too, is that when you have a client, no one else exists except that one client. So when you make custom built packages for them in a quote, not only does it feel more personal, but they're more likely to book you with more services if you have a quote that's custom built towards everything that they're looking for. They're trying to solve a problem, and your role is to help them solve that problem. Most of these are going to be marketing assets, visual imagery, engagement. All that is the solution that you're providing for these publishers. And that's why quotes are usually better in booking you higher end clients and more services than having a one sheet as well. A side note too, I just thought about it, but you also don't want to include on your media sheet other packages or other services available, because to me, personally, I feel like that screams that you're not confident and that you're willing to negotiate prices for your work. When you include like a little asterisk saying other things available, I think you should just list the services that you have and what you're worth. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't negotiate, but if you already set a value in prices, then at least if the publisher is willing to work with you, then they'll have this conversation back and forth saying, oh, we can't do this commercial for 60 seconds. Do you have any other pricing available for like 30 seconds? And that's happened to me plenty of times in the past too. And that's something that I'm also willing to work with as well. Just reducing the content, which allows them to reduce prices. And then there's this collaborative effort going on with you and your client too, which is always a great thing. Okay, so to wrap up this video, you know how to make a one sheet now. Yes, you should have it, but you shouldn't be sending it out willy-nilly. Make sure that if they're requesting it, at least you have it available and ready to go. And even with all the things I mentioned about having quotes in mind first before sending out a content sheet, it's always good to have. And just, make your own judgment, make your own best call about what is best for each publisher that you're interacting with. If they are constantly asking for a one sheet, then send them a one sheet. If they don't even bring that up with you and they already know how you are and who you are, then send them a quote. So just make your best guess judgment. And if you have any questions, you're always free to message me. I don't like using the word DM for some reason. Always feel free to message me on Instagram, Discord, wherever. You're always free to message me if you have concerns or questions about all this stuff. So with that said, I hope you learned a thing or two from today's video. Let's go ahead and start off with those hashtag weekend goals. I am super excited for all of you. I can't wait to see all the clients that you'll be booking, because you will be booking them. And yeah, let's get to it. I'll see you later.